All right, you freedom-loving Americans, pile in, get in line. We are about to walk through one of the greatest bombshell backfires I think I've ever seen. I never thought in a million years that I was going to do a video around something like a government shutdown, which is typically a lot of political posturing and a lot of dumb stuff. However, what I'm seeing from the Democrats right now is possibly one of the greatest backfires ever, as the White House is using this government shutdown to cut more funding and spending and eliminate more positions than under Elon's DOGE cuts. Guys, this one, I can't wait to show you these clips that they're starting to make realizations. Everything's going to be linked in the description box below. Of course, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on, because we are pushing towards all that freedom, and I cannot wait to hear what you guys think about this one. All right. As you get in here, the notifications have been sucking today, so make sure you hit 5x5 over here in the chat, and we will just get into this. You can, of course, follow me at Braden LOA on X. So, as you guys get in here, there's some hearts. I see some emojis coming in. Make sure we hit the 5x5s in the audios because, again, notifications are painfully slow today. I'm just going to jump right into it. I've got a clip here. Actually, first one, just to warm up, let's drag this one over. I want to play this one first while you guys filter in here. This clip right here is really comical. This clip is all about the Democrats who are basically undercutting each other because the far left is pushing this government shutdown thing. Yeah, this is hilarious. Jack Willen, what up? Welcome in. Give me a 5x5 on audio video, and we should be good to go and off to the races. This is the first one, guys. Enjoy this little clip while we get everyone in here.
Senator, I'm interested to know what you say to your colleague in the House, Jared Golden, a Democrat from Maine. He says that this government shutdown is the result of hardball politics driven by demands of far-left groups that they're making on Democratic Party leaders to make a show of their opposition to President Trump. The shutdown is hurting Americans and our economy. The irony is that it has handed more power to the president. Now, he says this fight is ostensibly about health care, and he notes that he opposes the Medicaid cuts, wants to extend the tax credits. But then he says some of my colleagues in the majority party have reasonable concerns going to high-income households. Normal policy disagreements, though, are no reason to subject our constituents to the continued harm of this shutdown. Do you think he's wrong?
That's a whole lot of gibberish. The most important thing, again, is that what I know for a fact, 24 million Americans are going to have their premiums increasing starting November 1st.
You think that this is the result of hardball politics driven by demands of far-left groups? That's gibberish?
No, I think that whole conversation, everything you just said, to me doesn't really matter. I know what the fact is.
So you don't think that Chuck Schumer, for example, is acting because he might face a primary from AOC?
24 million Americans. No, I don't think. I think that's BS.
All right, the rule on this channel, when CNN is putting your feet to the fire, Democrats, you done goofed. But anyway, that's just a normal standard. All right, guys, let's spread this one out because here comes the party. All right, listen. There's something that happens on all of these little things around government shutdowns and all these funding things. And basically, it's a bunch of who can frame it the best and have a framing media war. And typically, I don't like it. However, what I'm about to show you is the Democrats and the pundits and the talking heads realizing that they're going to lose more of their precious deep state funding than they ever thought they were going to under the DOGE little time period because it's temporary. Guys, this one is going to make you smile. Let's get back to MSDNC and see what they have to say. This clip is fire. You're going to love every second of it.
So, McKay, first of all, fascinating article. And it made me think about how you talk about kind of Russ Vought as, I'd say, the opposite of Elon Musk. You know, he was brought in to head DOGE, but he was kind of improvisational, to say the least. But when you talk about Russ Vought, he was always there, right? Quietly, strategically, planning a way. So my question to Michael's point is, what are you watching for next as the two men, the president and Russ Vought, are meeting?
Yeah, the big question that...
Again, keep in mind, as this setup is coming in, she's realizing something on MSDNC that's really uncomfortable to her and all the other pundits. I'm going to show you another one in a second from CNN. They're realizing that, hold on a second, Elon Musk was just temporary and like he had a time window. This guy's been here the whole time and he's not going anywhere. Holy crap, what have we done? Watch. I'm telling you, watch.
That he's going to have to answer in this meeting with President Trump, and that all of us should be paying very close attention to, is where is he recommending furloughs, which is the traditional thing that happens during a shutdown, versus where is Vogt recommending reduction in force, which is essentially permanently firing these people, right? Because this is a really important thing that voters and viewers need to understand. This shutdown could be very different from all the shutdowns that we've lived through over the last several years. I think we've become kind of inured to this idea that we have a dysfunctional government, shutdowns happen, it's disruptive, but then they come back. What Vogt is trying to do is to use this opportunity to permanently lop off large parts of the federal government, get rid of federal workers that he sees as basically not on board with the Trump train. And to Michael's point, when I would ask Vogt's allies, well, what about this question of when a Democrat gets back into the White House? That's going to happen someday. Aren't you going to regret, this huge power grab? And what they said to me, and they were very candid about it, to their credit, they said, well, the goal is to unravel enough of the federal government now that it will make it impossible for Democrats to rebuild it even when they do get back to the White House.
That is like pouring holy water on your local Democrat. Yeah, we know. They're probably going to get power at some point. But our goal is to destroy the infrastructure of the deep state and all the funding and all the really gross crap that they've put in place over the last 40 years to make it irrecognizable so they can't rebuild it back quickly. Okay, show of hands in the chat. Who voted for that? I'm just saying. Okay, and in a moment of candid, I'm having a little bit of fun, but in a moment of candid truth, you have to understand what is important to these people. The thing that they value, their currency, right? These are the DC swamp rats. These are the people inside Washington. They value money, of course. They value power, of course. But they value, above all else, stability and the ability to constantly be there for their careers, because at the end of the day, they are still humans, and we all want stability. We all want the career stability. We all want the money to keep flowing. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's about how do I keep getting my cheese from the government so they don't cut my special program. And if you don't believe that, you can ask anybody who is involved in the government. It's all about spending, funding, cuts, and is my program still going? I mean, you can ask anybody. This is the currency. They're going after the infrastructure to the currency. You think they just hate this guy in the White House and everyone in the Trump administration because they just want to? No. And now this little shutdown that they've done has given Trump the opportunity through the Office of Management of Budget, the Vogt guy that they're talking about. They're just going to cut everything permanently. You remember all the other conversations that they've had every time there's a government shutdown, which is just stupid. Like the guy said, yeah, we're getting used to it. And yeah, it shuts down for a minute and then it comes back, willy-willy, dilly-dilly, whatever. This time, they're going, oh, so you shut the government down, which means I have the option to either furlough or fire people and then cut all the funding to all these organizations and governments, which I couldn't do through Elon and through DOGE. And because of that, you're thinking I'm going to stop? Yeah, that's my point, guys. They've done goofed. Let's go to CNN. I'm telling you, they're all noticing it. I'm not going to cover the shutdown because, quite honestly, that's boring as hell to me. But this stuff, watching the Democrats step on their own feet and some rakes, is really entertaining. Let's get over to CNN because I will cover this all day long. Let's see what they have to say. Again, guys, over the target. Let's go. Let me see some planes, some comments, some chats. Let's get it.
Renee, let's first start with what we know, what we don't know, I guess, about the Trump administration's, what they actually mean when they say mass firings are imminent. Is there a picture that's starting to emerge of who or even what is being targeted at this point?
Okay, remember, what did I just show you that was just on MSNBC? The question is, this one's going to look a little bit different because before it was all furloughed. That was on MSDNC. Now look at CNN. Well, the question is, who's getting fired? Not who's getting furloughed, who's getting fired. You guys seeing the picture here? If the whole point behind the Trump administration and the White House and the DOJ and all the different king's men is to cut the spending, cut the overarching bloated budget, and bring it within balance to their purview, don't you see this as kind of being beneficial to them? Because if that's what your whole point was, and you just want to burn it down to the point where they can't rebuild it quickly, this is a pretty good excuse for it. Thanks, Democrats. Just saying. Let me know if I'm over the target in the chat. Keep on going. At least some airplanes, the emojis. I love it.
No, I think that still remains unclear at this point. We know that this morning the president said that he was meeting with OMB Director Russ Vought and that they would be hammering out these sort of details on which so-called, he calls it, these are his words, democratic agencies, where they would be cutting workers, where they'd be cutting programs, and discussing whether they would be permanent cuts or temporary cuts. But we should point out that before the shutdown officially went into effect, Vought had already gotten the wheels turning in this direction. In a memo to agency heads, he told them to consider mass layoffs for employees working on programs and projects whose funding will lapse, and there's no other source of funding available, and it's also not aligned with the president's agenda. So,
all right, guys, this is the fun part. This is why we do what we do. Come here. Even before the shutdown, they had the ball rolling, talking about meeting with Trump and going through with a fine-tooth comb of who gets funding and who doesn't get funding. Does that sound like anything else to you? Yeah, that sounds like the DOGE program and the DOGE cuts. And then the Democrats come in and they shut the government down because they don't vote for the clean resolution. Again, I don't really want to go into all that because I really find it boring. But I'm loving the backfire effect here. They knew it was going to happen. They had the power of negotiation. They had the list already ready. And now they're going through with a fine-tooth comb to decide which ones get to stay in mass firings to the agency heads. Y'all, this is... FAFO, which I'm seeing over here in the chat, doesn't really quite cover it. This is literally, the Democrats walked right into this, and instead of a traditional shutdown, Trump's going, cool, I can fire everybody. All right, let's keep on going. Maybe I'm just making this up. Let's go small again. Come on, let's get it.
those were the three criteria for people working in programs that they say they would cut. Right now, again, not clear which agencies will see these mass layoffs. We know that the White House said today that the number would be in the thousands. But what is also happening here simultaneously are cuts to programs that the Trump administration, frankly, does not like. Vought announced on social media yesterday nearly $8 billion in funding for what he's calling the Green New Scam.
Hold the phone. Stop the train. $8 billion for Green New Deal subsidies? Y'all, are y'all paying attention? Let me get in a little bit. $8 billion? They couldn't cut $8 billion from the Green New Deal when Elon was there. Wait a minute. They shut down the government, and all of a sudden, they just cut $8 billion from Green New Deal funding. You remember that whole thing that Trump was all about, how he wants to defund the Green New Scam? Hello. I'll tell you guys, what I'm seeing right now does not look like the Republicans are in any type of concern to get the government opened again. It looks like they're going to take a freaking machete to all the spending and special interest groups until the Democrats come back to the table and Trump wins in either scenario. He either wins by cutting all the funding and getting mass layoffs and shrinking the government, or he wins by making the Democrats bend over a barrel. Y'all, this is... I don't know. Maybe I'm making this up. Maybe I am just completely out to pasture and I am not directly over the target. Feels like I'm kind of over the target, and you guys can tell me. But let's keep going. We got another minute of this clip. I'm really enjoying myself.
Which was essentially funding for clean energy products and projects in Democratic-led states. They had been canceled. What is worth noting here, Erica, is what's different with this shutdown. In shutdown, compared to shutdowns in the past. We're seeing the president out.
I'm sorry to keep cutting her off, but again, I'm trying to draw the parallels and the correlations to what I just showed you. Over here on this clip right here, MSNBC, same thing. The guy said, this is going to be a little bit different than ones we've seen before. Hey, look, CNN. This is going to be a little bit different than the ones we've seen before. They're realizing they done goofed. All right, let me hear you in the chat if you voted for this. Let's keep going.
Out front and in center, not necessarily negotiating an end to the shutdown, but instead saying he'd use it as a, quote, unprecedented opportunity to really make things painful for the Democrats and ultimately continue to hollow out the federal workforce as he had been doing and eliminate programs that he doesn't like. And that is very different from what we have seen with past shutdowns, Eric.
They're hollowing out the government subsidies and programs that they don't like, unlike anything we've seen before. They're hollowing out the DC hole. Guys, there is no other channel in our space that's picking this up this early and covering this. I'm telling you, you got CNN and MSDNC taking separate guests, bringing them all together, saying the exact same thing. You think the Democrats don't watch all of these channels? This is the way the media works. The media is literally there to be a trial balloon and to spread out ideas for the Democrats to watch. The talking heads right here are all sounding the alarm, appropriately so, and their Democrats are in a position, they may realize it, they may not realize it yet, but here's where it boils down. You are in a position on the conservative or Republican side of this, objectively from the White House, where you either get the option, because of this shutdown, to cut all the programs you couldn't cut before because the government is shut down and you can actually choose to fire people versus furlough them. Or the Democrats come to the table and look like a bunch of weak, I'm not going to be mean. They just look weak, bent over a barrel. If you are Trump, you've got money over here and money over there. You get to win in any scenario, and the Democrats are actually foolish enough to play it like they've played everything else before. It's all about a media PR battle. Whoever can get the worst polling is going to fold first. That's not what's happening. What's happening is the advantage goes to the White House because they're just going to cut all of it because they have the federal controls over power, and the Democrats do not have an ability to stop it. Guys, you could literally go down this road for any organization you can think of. ATF, DOJ, CDC, EPA, any federal bureaucracy, IRS. Y'all, I'm telling you, this is a thing. But anyway, I cannot wait to see how this plays out because I'm not going to cover the shutdown. I just do not care about who's going to do what. I don't care. I will watch them literally trip over themselves, just watch them be outnumbered or outmaneuvered though, because this is delicious. All right, listen, people, I have taken up 16 and a half minutes of your time. I appreciate every single one of you for listening to me talk about my hypothesis and my observations. I hope I landed this plane. Let me know in the comments with little airplane emojis. Thank you for all the hearts. Thank you for the comments, the chats. I love each and every one of you, just the right amount that makes you feel comfortable, and I will see you tomorrow when we continue to grind for freedom. And with that outro, which was executed damn near perfect, I'll see you tomorrow.